All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest right now is in the building. Our guest today is a talent manager, music executive, writer, and creative entrepreneur who has worked in a wide variety of capacities in the entertainment industry for more than 2 decades. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have an OG in the building. Welcome to the show, Efe Omorogbe.
Legendary.
Thank you for spelling my son, for pronouncing my surname right.
Oh, fantastic. I think because it's from...
I'm from Spain. My ancestors are from...
I think it's from your state. That's why it
No,
actually
even
comes up.
then, you could be from my state and still...
Mispronounce it.
No, there's a different variant.
Oh, interesting.
That is...
Omorogbe.
Yeah, I'm a Omorogbe.
Oh.
There's a Omorogbe. There's a Omorogbe.
Okay.
So they're all, yeah. So
Oh, I get it. Like
it's
Egosa,
8 out of 10
Efosa,
times,
like, yeah.
8 out of 10 times, people, they labeled me with the wrong
Wow.
last name. Yeah,
Wow. So these are shining things.
Oh, intellect, opa. All right. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on the show. And today, we are even happy that you are here on a Throwback Thursday where we get to play old school videos celebrating some of our classic songs. Yeah, Nigerian foreign songs. How do you feel so far?
Bring me back when you're doing new school stuff.
Oh
Because
my God.
you have to be, you don't want
This is my first year in the music industry.
liar.
Oh my God.
I'm fresh out.
Yeah, right.
You know, no, seriously.
Right.
There was that chapter, but there's a new chapter. So
So
I'm
you
back
belong
in
to the new
school.
chapter, right?
Yes, I'm back in this. So this is like, you know, first semester.
Wow.
And,
All right. So I do understand that everybody likes to evolve, and that is one thing you have done because, well, you did that era, and then you're here
doing
again.
this, yeah.
All right. So I'd even like to know because, you know, so many times the spotlight is not always on, you know, talent managers, the people behind the scenes doing the work, making the artist look good every now and then. You know, I don't know. How do you feel about that? I mean, yeah, right now we're not bringing people into it like, oh, this is the person behind this. This is the person.
Larry
behind
Gaga
this
has
and
a
all that.
song.
Oh, you see. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll wake up one day and you would have a song.
It could get worse.
So how do you actually feel about this?
It's bittersweet. So for someone like me, it was playing the background was a deliberate decision.
Okay.
So while I was in that space, there was no. I didn't feel any type of way about it. It was a choice. I could have been foreground, but I chose to be background because I just felt a lot more comfortable. I felt I was a lot more effective in the background. And the thing about art and entertainment is that, yes, the people who you see, but a lot of the heavy lifting is done by the people you do not see, even within the studio.
That's
here.
right. That's right.
There are three, pretty people driving the conversation with the audience and all of that. But the audience would not hear you. They wouldn't see how fly you look. They wouldn't. I mean, if the crew, if they're not doing what they need to
That's
do,
right.
and the people who actually make sure that this ship stays afloat.
That's right.
Right. So even with your technical people, there's still the executives, there's still the investors, there's still. So it's a whole, a whole ecosystem, you know, of people who bring value to the
That's
table.
right.
But of course, there are parts of it that are a lot more glamorous than the other parts.
That's
so-
right.
And yeah, so we.
That being said, so it brings me to the thought that a lot of people behind the scenes, the guys who make these things happen behind the scenes, they outlive the people even in front of the scenes because they get to see the paradigm shift. They get to see generations come and different generations come, but they are still the engine of the room.
So okay, so that is true. It has its issues too, but that's true. But you can't take it for granted just because you're in the background. Longevity is not guaranteed just because you're in the background.
Yeah, you have to.
You still have to reinvent. You still have to work quite as hard. You still have to take on. So you stretch yourselves. You try a bunch of new things. You fail at a lot of them. You succeed at some. But it's basically the same type of challenges you face. With longevity as a foreground artist, but of course, as a foreground figure. But of course, when I got into the game at a professional level, one of the key people that like opened the door for me and kept the door open is still one of the most active, one of the most influential players in the game today. So of course, Eddie Lawani,
Eddie Lawani.
right? So I mean, when I got serious about doing this, my first port of call was Eddie Lawani's office, and I probably went there 7 or 8 or 10 times before I could see him for the first 2 minutes to have a conversation. It was a power player then. It's still a power player now. I'm sure if I call him now, he's still on set somewhere trying to get stuff done. Yeah. And a lot of the guys who, when I would go to his office, I'll have to sit and wait, right? Because no mobile phones, there's no you can confirm, bros, you go show today, or you're there on your way or something. So you just went there and hoped that he will pop, right? And sometimes you'll sit there for 4 hours, and somebody they close the office and say, bros, they come today, and all of that, right? A lot of the guys so I'll sit in the spot and wait for 3 hours, and when he does show up, there'll be one superstar, another superstar, and it wouldn't matter how long I've waited. I still have to wait because all of those guys have to still go before me, right? But 95% of those guys today, they don't have careers they don't have thriving careers in entertainment, business, or as singers or performers. But of course, he's still alive and strong, and even 3 times stronger today than he was back in the year. So if you're in the background and you take care of yourself, and you do the right things, you could
and continually reinventing yourself.
Course,
We were talking when we did The Way I Day Now as regards to shots. We were talking about how now it's easier for artists to just stream songs. Back in the day, break it down. Back in the day, the likes of Baba when they drop song, Now Music, how you need to just take this
what was
CD,
the distribution like?
Yeah, distribution, taking it to different places to push songs.
There was one word for distribution. Analog.
Oh, yeah.
It was analog.
Actually.
It was manual.
Yeah.
A lot of heavy lifting, a lot of, physical, you have to cover grounds physically. So if I wanted to get my music on a radio station in Alagbado, I'll have to go to Alagbado or send someone physically to Alagbado. I couldn't send an email to Alagbado. How far, If you want airplay in Warri, you have to
go to Warri.
Take your black box, get into a vehicle, and go all the way down to Warri. A lot of things are simplified now. That's why I say, it's my first year in music. Because
Cerebrate.
So much has changed.
Actually.
It's just fascinating. That would probably take a whole 1-hour show for us to just, in perspective, even the 2 shot, the video, the person making, the video, and all of that stuff, getting the record out, getting the distribution deal, putting the CD, it was a whole, different ball game. But funny enough, I don't know, maybe this is just the old man in me talking. It was a lot of fun too. It was a lot of fun.
Traveling around.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun because we kind of built. It was more interactive.
Networking.
Yeah. So we built more stronger, more
relationships.
More organic and long-lasting relationship because people were connecting with real people,
you
real
saw
time,
them,
and all of that. So the guys whose videos you've probably played, all year long, that you probably would never get to meet.
That's right.
And all of that.
That's right.
But back in the day, you had to meet people, you have to connect with them. So a lot of us from back then, our relationships, myself and Ayanimasha, for example, myself and Mod9, Rugged Man, a lot of those guys. Some of us we have 20-year relationship, and
That's right.
Mr. Raw, and it sometimes goes beyond music. We're like family. We really get really tight.
Efe Omorogbe right here, and we're talking to him, and he's schooling us on the entertainment history in Nigeria, and so far so good.
In fact, something just happened. So there is an intern in the studio, and the intern could not actually relate to the P-Square song we just played, Do Me.
Yes, we're young now.
So I tried to call the police.
So yeah, and so he actually quickly gave her some punishment, like stand up, raise your hand there, and put that. The next time you see me, you must kneel down on both knees like this and say, "Good morning, sir." All right, so we're talking about this, and then you had your your own theory to it or your opinion to that.
So
and I said again that Raskimono of blessed memory passed, and it was on a Sunday, and I was running evening shift on radio. And so I was paying tribute to him, and somebody called and did not even have an idea of the person that I was talking about, and I felt very disappointed because growing up, I did not know so many artists that were that, but when I knew their songs and I knew their stories. So who's to blame?
I think it's largely our faults. When I mean our fault, I mean the gatekeepers. I've done a lot, in the media space. My first major gig in this business was Hip Hop World Magazine. I was, assistant editor of Hip Hop World Magazine. So I was a writer, a journalist, we produced stuff, and from there I moved on to producing, a TV show with Kwame, Global Sounds,
Yeah,
that was
Nigeria.
progenitor of Nigeria
Yeah.
and all of that. So these days, I think the media, the gatekeepers, they have to be very strategic about how they communicate the game, the culture. There's a trend, but the trend is not the game. There's a difference between the trend and the game itself, the culture. So too much emphasis is focused on the trends. So the people you're feeding information, they do not have a bird's eye view of the entire game. They don't understand. So everybody's looking for what's trending, the new song, the new videos, the current artist. But all of this, they're standing on something, they're standing on another thing, they're standing on another thing. So it's an entire ecosystem, right? So if the media alters the way it communicates the culture, I think a lot of younger people would have a broader, because sometimes I go on Twitter and I, if you check out Nigerian Twitter, you probably would think that music started with Wizkid and Davido.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
There are people who think that who do not know anything post, pre Wizkid or Davido. So as far as they're concerned, the music industry started, with Wizkid and
there.
Davido. And when they make comments and they post stuff and you
Comparing Fela and Wizkid.
No, there are people who should be who should be evaluated. The people who should be evaluated. But again, I don't hold it against them. Half knowledge is dangerous. You're better not knowing anything at all than knowing just a little bit of something, because you're going to go ahead and make draw conclusions that are holistic,
Based on what you
based
know.
on the little stuff that you know. So I think the media has a responsibility to correct that, because why is it important for us to have a balanced view? Before I got into the studio, I heard you guys talk about Nicki Minaj, and that she paved the way for.
Yeah.
100% correct. However, paving the way for Megan Thee Stallion and all of that, it's not necessarily about just putting out rap records.
Yeah.
Right? So if you understand hip hop, the history of hip hop, it was testosterone heavy from day one, right? There was no space for actual female superstars in rap. They were, just used to spice up, to soften up the crews and all of that. It was so male dominated. So by the time people like Lil Kim, Foxy Brown came through,
Yeah, that's right.
Right, Missy Elliott, what they did to open up the space for other females, MC Light,
MC Light, yeah.
Eve, it's so huge, because again, I heard this quote from Beyonce, the soundbite where she was saying something about, it's hard to imagine that about a few years ago, women in America could not even vote, right? In reference to Kamala Harris, women could not even vote. So you move from a point where you couldn't even vote to a point where you can actually run. You can have a female run for president.
That's right.
So you cannot. You cannot overemphasize the importance of those little steps. And the people who made those things happen, they paved the way. I've heard all kinds of stuff. I heard people say nobody, did anything from nobody paved the way from.
Self-employed, something.
Nobody has. It's not about somebody coming to you to give you stuff. The fact that there was a Two Shorts, right? The fact that there was a lot of Ajasa. The fact that there was today there's a Fino because there was a Nigga Raw, right? Someone had to someone has to establish that this is possible.
Yeah.
Everything that Wizkid, Burna, David, everything that they, and all of them, Kiss Daniel, everything they're doing, Tiwa Savage. We can't. I don't like when people talk David, Wizkid, and Burna without talking about Tiwa Savage. It's incomplete. You know, without Tiwa Savage or Yemi Alade, the story is not even complete,
That's
right? Because these are people doing big things, you know, and everything they're doing now, even for someone like me who's been in the game for 25, 30 years, it's a reaffirmation of what is possible.
That's
because we've not even scratched the surface yet. So you build stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff, and everybody in that value chain is important, and they must be presented, they must be celebrated, they must be acknowledged for, you know, the roles that, you know, they've played.
That's so
it can't just be about the trends.
We try our best right here on Easter. That's why we have days like this,
Thursday,
whereby we take it back so that people get to see that before all of this, there were some guys that were killing it and still killing it.
They're killing it. And if you check out a lot of what they're doing today, in short, one of these days we'll have fun with the music. We'll touch on the similarities, right? We'll touch on the samples, the sampling, the influence.
Yeah,
that's right.
The flow, the flow, the cadence, the fashion sense.
True.
Every artist
is revolving.
Every artist you see today has a progenitor, has an ancestor. You know,
it's a protege of someone.
It's an evolution.
Yeah, that's right.
So maybe one person, a combination of 2 or 3 people, and all of that. So if you don't know your history, if you don't appreciate, you know, the game.
It's just sad.
What's that? There's an expression. You say, hey,
We still have Omorogbe right here in the building, giving us some history lessons.
I am telling you.
But
Big ones.
let's jump into Bokwa Media.
Yeah, so we saw the song from P Square and reminded us that you were in charge of the concert, the P Square concert that just happened with the outfit Buckwild.
Yes.
Buckwild and Breathless.
Buckwild and Breathless. And before then, I mean, the name Buckwild and Breathless had been a series. I mean, with Two-Face, we've seen the concerts. And we want to talk about that and events and you going into events and doing events here.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, guys. Don't stop. Anyways. Okay, so I'm big on a performance. Proper performance. I started out as so today my guys, they call me a field rapper. You know,
wow.
God will punish a lot. But I started as a performer.
Okay.
And we used to prepare for our performances. You know, I got into this game at secondary school level, you know, doing beatbox, breakdancing, rapping, and all of that stuff, right? So our performances were planned, were choreographed. Of course, if you're in a dance crew, you know that you can't just go out there and bust a move. And I grew up on the absolute best stage performers. I was big on James Brown, Michael Jackson, you know, the whole. So for me, a performance, when I got in the game and I saw what was the trend, which was like boss getting DJ track two in and out. I felt like that was good, but that could be more. For someone like me, coming from my background, you know, I did, you know, TV shows, full seasons and all that. I felt like there could be more. And I've actually seen more within the Nigerian space. I've seen shows where artists really, you know. So we created this whole Buckwild and Breathless concept, right? What I've told the talent from day one. The first was in 2010 with Flight Time. You know, Cecil promoted, you know, I produced and I was creative director. And we said we wanted to do a gig, right? Sure, it started in 2006, really. Two-Face, Innocent, a guy. What's his name? The guy is MI. So we would travel over long distance and discuss, you know, concept for shows, you know. And we always talked about like really doing a really, really grand show. So in 2006, at the launch of the Grass to Grace album, we turned the heat up at Planet One. There was a venue. It was the top venue on the mainland.
Yeah, that's right. Maryland, that's right. Yeah, Maryland.
And we did a show. It was mind blowing. We told the Plantation Boys story on stage. I had a complete ensemble. I had a music director. You know, we created the music for the beginning. Neola was composer. You know, vocalist. We had people who were performing that were not on stage, right? Just creating the mood. We had kids. You know, so we had planned that show for a while. so the time it was to deliver that event, we were no longer working together as talent and management as Now Music, but he insisted that his team should get, Now Music, that we needed us to execute that show. So we did that in 2006. And so with Cecil, in 2010, Cecil said, everywhere I go, I hear about the Two-Face show, 2000, the Two-Face show, right? Can we do this again? I'm like, I don't want to do anything else. So it was the first major concert at the Eco Convention Center, what you call the Eco Convention Center now. It was the first time, a concert would be held there. It was the first time it would be sold out by, a single headlining artist. So we prepared for Buck Quiet and Breathless, Two-Face live. And I would be in meetings, I'd be in pitches, I'd be, and people would reference. I had a couple of guys who couldn't make the show. They sent some of their company reps, and after the show, they called us to say, bro, we have a production, but can we just tear it down and scrap it so you guys can come and redesign the entire experience,
Wow.
So we found out that we weren't just the only ones. There were people who wanted more. This DJ track two thing, it's okay for an artist to get off a flight, get to a hotel, take a nap, change clothes, get backstage and get on stage. That's fine. So
rehearsal.
Yeah, what we tell the artists is that
Preparation.
there's, 52 weeks in a year. I'm sure. There's 52 weeks, right? Okay, they're not changing it, right? So what we say to them is, 51 weeks, do your normal set. But for one weekend in a year, just be fabulous. Everything you've envisaged about, you've envisioned about your performance.
No.
We're going to make it happen. We'll work with you to create an enhanced version of everything that you. So we've done Buck Quiet and Breathless since then, and every year. I have my apologies to the rest of the team. I created a lot of problems for. P-Square, I love P-Squares, we thought we P-Square reading out like 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
You can't touch P-Square on stage.
Yeah.
You can't touch P-Square on stage.
Yeah.
I've seen P-Square rehearse for a regular show. So I sit back and I listen to an artist's catalog of music, Tiwa Savage, M.I. In 2006, at the Disruption, I wasn't sure what I was doing on M.I. set. I was supposed to be creative director, I was supposed to be calling the show, but at some point, I stood there and I watched M.I. move from a man to a god. His set was excellent. He delivered a show like this was the opening ceremony of an Olympics game or a World Cup and all that. And that's basically the essence of Buck Quiet and Breathless. So you see P-Square, every day they're great. But you come to Buck Quiet and Breathless and you see an enhanced version. November 20, P-Square Forever, they had an 18-piece band.
Yes, I saw it.
They had like a 50-man cast on that stage.
I get it. I really understand.
We really have to go because we're out of time. Who is next?
Not you, Sha.
Oh, God.
Okay, we are rappers too. We feel as rappers.
Sorry.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Mr. Efe Omorogbe,
Thank
for
you so
saying
much.
that's not this guy. Because
No, because he was asking me.
Yes,
It's okay. But we'll get to you.
Yeah,
We'll get
going
to
very
you.
soon,
Maybe
yeah.
at the turn of the century.
We have to go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mr. Omorogbe. And of course, behind the scene, we'll still have more conversation. I would really like to hear your thoughts about Nigerian rappers, what Whiskey put up.
Yes.
But we'll record
Oh my
that
God,
and probably
yes.
put it up.
Oh gosh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. My name is OJ. J. Paul, Mr. Flame was in the building. And of course, Ernie Port, and of course, Mr. Efe Omorogbe.